Fuck You Dad.
We are live from the Lincoln Lodge once again. Welcome to Fuck You Dad. Today, have we had a repeat guest before? I think
I don't think we have.
I don't think so.
Was
Look
this
at
the
that.
first?
That's
the
special.
first.
Would you look
duo.
at that?
That's really
Yeah.
special.
Thank you.
We've got Drew
I'm
Lauren
honored.
back on.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more excited.
Thanks for having me.
Last time we had you on,
It was dark. It was Zoom.
yeah, it was Zoom.
I was living in a garden apartment basement in COVID. 0 degrees outside. I'm drinking myself to death. Wondering.
We talked about therapy for a long time.
For a lot.
Yeah.
I talked about therapy more than I was talking in therapy on that episode.
Kenyon was in a basement and was like,
housing
it's a
some-
problem because my therapist is hot. And I was like, you need to move out of a garden apartment.
Yes, 100%. That's where darkness is bred, is garden apartments.
Dude, COVID, 0 degrees in Chicago, break up in a garden apartment. I mean that's like, that is life on hard mode,
It's a miracle you're here, buddy.
I mean, that's
it's just,
anyone who listens
that's
to the
crazy.
pod knows that.
Yeah.
They just tune in it's like this will be continued, like every week. They're like, Kenyon's still here. Like, that's awesome.
yeah.
They hear the screaming in the pot, like their ears hurt, but for a second they're relieved. So,
It's like your ears are ringing because it's Kenyon. It's so loud.
We just got back from a banger of a weekend in Iowa.
all doing shows.
Yeah.
Des Moines and Okoboji.
Lake Okoboji.
What'd you think of that?
Des Moines and well,
The Lake Okoboji.
I've spent a lot of time. I live there basically. Yeah, I mean it was it's
that place was set up. It was a compound.
Well, basically Lake Okoboji is. So I've only been there in the off season. So I'm used to like the alcoholic townies, which I've been around my whole life.
Correct. Yeah.
They're a fun salt of the earth breed.
But
what Lake Okoboji in the summer was like a trumpet, like because you don't even have to go to a fucking liberal coast. You know what I mean? You can just go to a beach, but it ain't polluted in a blue state. Like it's just a lake. So they don't even have to go close to anyone who believes in anything different.
Yeah.
And so it's basically what it is like those are rich, dumb people who want to go do rich, dumb people things, which is just get drunk on a lake. It just was. It's like the dark, upside down world of Margaritaville. You know what I mean?
It's the underbelly of Margaritaville.
Yeah, like where it's not
cheeseburger in hell.
Margaritas are too foreign for these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a Tom Petty cover band, and that is just, I mean, that if I've ever seen pigs in shit, that was just pigs in shit, dude. They were eating that up.
I mean, anytime you see adults at a nice bar drinking a Busch Light, I mean, Lord help, Busch Light's like when you drink when you brought spare change to the gas station.
Yeah.
I've never seen as much Busch Light as when I was in Iowa. Like the cooler was full of Busch Light. I almost handed everyone at the party $20.
Yeah.
I was like, is everyone okay?
You guys need
Should
this.
I start a GoFundMe for this party? What the fuck?
Busch Light's a classic. I think that's like an Iowan beer. I think it might be brewed there.
Well, yeah, because it's
Yeah,
a miserable
do we-
state. It's a miserable beer.
I think we drank that on the boat, did we?
I'm sure we did.
No,
Anytime
I think
you're
it was Michelob's that were on the boat. Not that it matters. It's the
Okay,
same
not
shit.
a big
way to
beer
be on fun
person.
about and ruin the relief. But
lot of catcalling in Iowa, I will say.
Oh yeah.
What you mean they don't respect women? Wait, what?
Yeah, I was actually pretty shocked.
People
They didn't
were
respect women in Iowa.
haircut harassing me.
Yeah,
Two different cities.
by a 16-year-old, you got harassed.
Two different cities. I had a pretty fire fade, as I always do, and multiple like
Not always.
always.
Not always.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it wasn't always.
and multiple douchey young like lacrosse bros were just being like, nice haircut. How can I get that? And I literally yelled at a child. I'm like, by having better genes. That's how you can get this hair.
Yeah, it was pretty. I went to the gas station just to get a lighter.
Yeah.
Walked maybe like half a mile. And this guy, it wasn't like catcalling by like a construction worker that just screamed, like yells out, and you're like adjacent to him. It was somebody driving to a stoplight and rolled out down their window. It was like, rah! Whatever. And I was like,
Was
okay,
that even catcalling, or you just witnessed like a psychotic drive-by?
I feel like that's Iowa's catcalling.
It's
Yeah,
just
they
screaming
catcall
at you.
by
psychotic
inducing
drive-by.
fear. That's what they like. They like to see the fear in a woman's eyes.
Yeah, we want you to know we're watching you.
That's why it's so easy to just kind of clean up and meet people when you meet in Iowa, because the level of dude there is a level of sad you don't see. Like, the dudes there have bigger tits than the women.
There was some mismatched couples there.
Oh, no,
swear
here's
to
everyone.
God.
It's like the hottest women alive, and then the saddest, like, Fred Flintstone came back and ate his buddy.
Yes, yeah.
And then they're wearing, they're just camo over tits is the look. And then and then they'll be with, like, a supermodel, and I'm like, just move. Move away.
Yeah, you don't have to be with that person,
You don't,
ma'am.
you don't have to do that.
But they do, because there's like 20 people.
No, there's like probably one hot, like cool, misunderstood kid, and that kid darts. That kid is like in an art school ready to film a fucking short film about his emotions the second he can. And it's like what's left behind is the most, again, so my ex lived there. I met a bunch of other supposedly adult people with children.
Yeah.
People that can vote.
That.
Ridiculous. And I had a conversation with a grown man. He was the first time we ever met.
Sure.
And he's like, hey, this is a normal conversation, talking about this fun contest where him and his friends see how long they could last peeing.
Okay.
And he was bragging to me once, he was like kind of throwing his dick on the table, that he could last 59 seconds peeing. And I was like, I can last 0 seconds talking to you right now. I'd rather honestly have someone pissing in my face than listen to you. And it's
That's
insane.
also like 59. I mean, like, you need to see a doctor.
No, what they do is they drink like 49 Busch Lights when they hang out.
Light.
There's nothing to do.
It's for sure the Busch Light.
They drink cheap beer and.
So you spent enough time in Iowa to know the strategy.
Oh, that's because that's what that's how they live. These people live their lives.
I mean, I don't think that was Des Moines was cool.
Des Moines is just like a regular.
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
It's like an American.
It feels very
cool.
Midwestern.
Right, and then the lake town was
the
like,
Boge will get you.
That was a crazy place, and it was literally I'd never performed comedy like at a theme park like that. It was weird to be like
I
in
did it
an
last
attraction.
time, and it was you're just a sideshow.
Yeah,
but that's what you are. Stand-up comedy, the bastard.
the
bastard
same.
son of the carnival.
Just because you're in some fancy
Cartwright,
room in some
everybody.
basement doesn't mean you're still not eight fucking park bucks or whatever.
I mean, it's the fat lady with the beard, and it's Nick talking about his dick. It's all the same goddamn thing. If we were in the 30s, you'd be like, "Mom, I'm gonna run away and join the circus," and you'd beat an elephant or whatever they do.
That seemed to be a real thing that the circuses were doing.
They really abuse these animals.
Yeah.
No, it's not good. Circuses are bad.
They're really done.
Yeah.
The death of the circus. People were pissed on that. They were like,
I'm like,
I go to this.
I remember that. They were like, oh, this circus went down and hurt. I'm like, who's going to the circus who's like still alive? Besides like your great grandfather. When's the last time anyone has went to a circus ever?
Yeah, the only way we need the circus is just to keep like maybe a percentage of like more homeless people just at
all it is.
At a workplace.
That's what it is.
A
circus is just a moving homeless shelter with makeup. With makeup and stray animals.
God, we should go to one, dude. We should find the last circus.
I mean, because I know there was one in Raleigh that was like, they were like, well, this is one of the last ones. And I'm like, oh, they're still going on? What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know. What would be
imagine a world where you have
circus?
like Netflix. You can watch the best things you've ever seen in your face.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, do you want a bunch of
you want to see
ill
sad animals?
Yeah, mentally ill people beating animals in a sweaty place with no air conditioning. No.
With creepy slow.
You know how everyone's scared of clowns. You know how clowns have been almost famously associated only with serial killers.
Yeah, or I don't. It's just general fear. I think it's.
Well, clowns are no fun anymore.
Yeah.
If you saw someone walking down the street, you wouldn't go, "Oh yay!" I mean, you wouldn't go like if a clown drove to your house. You're like, "Boy, is it time for chuckles and fun?"
That's true. Like the best clown, I bet, is just one that doesn't terrify the children. One that goes like full Showtime, no cries. That's the best clown.
Yeah, I mean because think about the last 30 years. There's only been murder in clowns.
I had a clown at my like 6th. Something like that.
Well,
6th or
way
5th
to
birthday.
brag that you had a child.
Yeah, I had a clown.
Shit. Oh, I had a clown.
My sister
Only
had a
clown I had
meltdown.
was my goddamn dad.
Sister had a meltdown.
Here we
on
go.
her birthday.
Here we go with the metaphors. We're starting off hot up top, baby.
Drew, how do you feel about clowns? Are you a big clown person?
No,
Did you ever get a clown?
No, I'm not into it.
Not into it?
I wasn't really scared of them, and then once I heard other people were scared of them, I then started to like confirmation bias it, where I would see them and I'm like, oh, they are like frightening.
Yeah.
But I was never initially scared of them, but now and because I've seen movies that like clowns will pop out and
Yeah.
shit like that, and it freaks me out. It's the eyes. Everything's in the eyes.
Well, it's a very terrifying get
It's
up.
the way
Yeah.
that they're not smiling, but the painted on smile.
Yeah.
It's the
They're
painted
all the
on
Joker.
smile.
They're all the Joker.
Yeah,
It's all bad
maybe
news.
that's yeah.
It's all bad news. Well,
Anyway, speaking on painted on smiles, how do you feel about your dad?
So here's our guest, repeat guest
yeah,
Drew
what are your
Moore.
updates? Do you have any updates?
Yeah.
I have some updates. I feel like I come on this podcast just to reach my dad. The phone doesn't work apparently.
A lot of people have said that, like they'll be like, "Yeah, my dad watched the clip." Like it's a way to reach out, you know? Just to be
Yeah.
like,
It's
hey.
almost like SETI.
How does it feel to have your podcast be a cry for help?
I mean, I
Well,
think
my
that's
stand-up's a cry for
yeah, I was
help,
gonna
so
say,
it mixes. Yeah.
it suits us pretty well.
It's kind of what we do. It's kind of what we're all about here. We're sending an SOS to the universe. That's what we do every time I post a reel.
Oh my god, so dramatic.
I really wish there was like the suicide hotline had like a preemptive outreach center.
It would be funny if you could put like on the bottom of reels just like your donate, like an easy way to donate,
I should just start a GoFundMe, but it's for your just general spiritual
just
distance.
to keep me alive.
Yeah, GoFundMe for my self-esteem. But you don't even have to donate like money. Just donate like a hug.
Yeah.
Or just a thing that'll pop up on your phone that just says so and so likes you. You know?
Oh, dude,
That would be pretty cool.
I mean, that's what OnlyFans is anyway.
Oh, that's kind of true.
I mean, but it'd be nice to have an actual real version of that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like an actual person.
We were talking to Drew about the good idea of half starting an OnlyFans, but just tricking
Right.
horny guys into watching your stand-up clips.
Yeah, I've been taking it a little more seriously now that
with
I've
inflation, we're all
I've done
thinking.
stand up in several states and the money ain't great.
Yeah,
so
well.
Listen,
I've been
you
considering
trick 'em,
that.
have like a hot photo on the intro, and then
Sure.
and then when they come in, it's all just clips. And
It's
like,
just
what
clips.
the fuck? And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
paying for content.
And I'm like, women being funny is the hottest thing
Yeah,
you can
it
see.
is.
Exactly.
for
You gotta
sure.
pay $5 a month.
100%.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You're putting more. You're
Yeah.
actually putting in more work than people who make OnlyFans are, because they're taking a photo of their ass. You're like,
That's
writing
very
jokes.
true. Wow, Kenyon needs to set up my bio for this.
Kenyon is one of the most feminist people. Don't recognize that, but Kenyon's a goddamn warrior.
Well,
He really
because
is.
I hate myself, and then therefore all men. It's like, why would I support men? I don't support myself. I'm like the who's that guy that betrayed the British?
Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, I'm the Benedict Arnold of men. I'm trying to take my own kind down from the inside. I understand how they work. I've studied them. Like my whole life. I've never had any real male role models. They're all losers.
Yeah.
My dad, you just get drunk, you're emotional, you abandon your family, and you have the mom working all the time. You're like, well, that's the reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Oh, I got a little serious there.
No, well, it makes sense because me and Kenyon have talked about this. How I grew up around a lot of males, and he grew up around a lot of females, and that's why I have a ton of guy friends and he has a ton of female friends. It just kind of makes sense.
A ton?
Nick's like,
Nick just turns into your dad.
Nick just got a little mean. He was like, he doesn't have a ton of friends in general. You're like, 2? That's not a ton. Oh, I didn't know we defined 2 as a ton.
Nick was like, names. I want names.
I think it's the Red Bull, man. I didn't pick up a beer, but because I was sleepy, I got the Red Bull. I think Red Bull makes me. I'm a little stingy right now. Dude.
Oh, you're just,
Yeah.
you got the fire. You got
I'm
the,
frosty.
Makes your
you
heart
got
a
the
little.
Uzi out. Like, oh, this is what does Kenyon have a ton of friends in general?
Yeah. Well, I've never heard someone say that. Like Kenyon, he's got a ton of friends. I'd be like,
I mean, hey, fuck you.
you have friends. I mean, a ton though. I mean, that's a lot.
Tons a lot.
That
Yeah.
is
But
a
would
lot.
you say majority, like when you were growing up and now, would you say you? I think it's maybe that you have more female friends than your other male friends do,
I think it's true. Yes.
and you're closer with your female friends.
I would say that's
too,
probably
according
true.
to Nick.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a roundabout way of getting to it. But news update from my dad.
Yes.
I have like long story short, my grandma moved to Chicago, my dad's mom,
Okay.
because her husband died, which 20 years or of like 20, maybe actually of 25 years. So he was like married to my grandma. Like he was the only grandpa I knew, right? Like
Yeah.
step grandpa kind of thing. But when he passed away, my dad had a trip to Alaska and was like, I can't go to the funeral for my grandma, right?
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah.
I like how he's like,
Yeah,
it's
we're getting
a
heavy.
timeshare.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm got to share the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the whole thing doesn't work, Ma. Ma. Oh, no, I went to a meeting.
I'm taking one for the team.
No, but I have a reservation. It's also not even the Bahamas. It's Alaska, which is like uninhabitable most of the year.
It's freezing.
I don't trust mountains over beach people. I don't.
It's
Well, we
supposed
can't.
to be
We can't.
beautiful,
Yeah, one
but-
thing to.
Oh, it's supposed
It's
to be
just a
beautiful. You know,
bitch
there's
to
a
get there,
documentary about a man being eaten alive by bears. That's all I know about Alaska is a man loved bears, and bears didn't love him back. And he got eaten alive by bears, which is what...
It's a great metaphor for my dad.
Yeah. Yeah, which is what he did to both you and his mother's heart, apparently.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Just eating a lot. Your dad would rather take his luck with grizzly bears than support his grieving mother.
Yeah. Quite. You're kind of summarizing the whole
I
thing.
look
Yeah.
at your dad's like drinking a club soda, like in a cabin, looking up his view, and he's just like, "It's as hard for me as it is for you."
Yeah.
He's like, "Mom, I can't even imagine what
yeah.
you're going through right now." He's like yelling at room service. He's like, "This lobster's cold. Lobster's cold. All right, listen, the lobster is cold. Your husband's dead. We're both dealing with a lot of loss today.
Yeah.
We're both dealing with a lot."
The airline lost my bags for a full hour. I was just sitting in baggage claim.
Like a peasant.
Yeah.
If I didn't have if I couldn't freely slap people, I don't know where I'd be. It's just what your dad said. I really can't, because sometimes I feel guilty I don't call my mom enough. If a husband of my mother died, and I was just like, well, I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
I was like, I would love to do it.
Yeah. It was definitely really awkward because I had to go, and then my family was like, "Where is he?" And I was like, nobody.
And
really
then you
Nobody
cut to
knew,
like
but you knew?
having.
I knew, and then it was a thing of like, don't talk about it, kind of thing.
Oh, that's whack.
because he's the best son. Because I think his MO is always like, well, I support financially, so nothing I do.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So-
yes, I'm
so
very
it-
familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick knows that card very well.
So
My dad doesn't even do that.
yeah.
But then
My dad will give you half an EBT card to be like, all right.
I get why that also sucks. But then he can't play the card because the card really is hard. It's a hard card to fight against.
Yeah, my dad has no cards, but
Yeah.
he has all the confidence.
Yeah.
My dad's a broke gambler at the table who's like, no, I'll win. And I'm like, Dad, you don't even...
You're not even in the
You're-
game.
yeah,
you're not
you're-
playing.
Yeah.
You're not at the casino.
Dad, you're holding your fingernails as chips. You got nothing.
So my dad, didn't show up to the funeral, and I kind of was taking care of like my grandma and stuff like that. And then that was more of like, I've always been on and off with my dad, for people who haven't tuned into the last episode, like on and off with my dad since I was like 13. And this was kind of like, I've been financially independent for the last like 3 years, so I kind of don't really need him like for really anything.
Yeah.
And so I kind of stopped really talking to him a lot because I did spend like $500 out of my own savings to like fly in the next day because we didn't know like when he was gonna die, and like I didn't want her to be alone.
Yeah.
And so then came home, and then now that she's here, I've been seeing him more because we've been going to see my grandma together. But he recently okay, so this is like the story that happened. So my dad has been with my stepmom for, I'd say, like 12 years. Like, my dad met my stepmom like 3 months after the marriage, and then they started dating and whatever, right? So
Okay.
I've known this woman for a long time. And they had a quote, wedding when I was 18. And then when I was 18, they had a wedding. But the wedding apparently wasn't a wedding because they weren't technically married for like some financial scam reasons that I can't like go into kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know this until I had my college graduation, and it was like all of my family together at once, which hasn't happened to me in like years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And my stepmom announces at my graduation dinner that she's not technically married to my dad. And so I didn't know that, right?
Uh-huh.
So then like 2 weeks ago,
Interesting timing.
yeah. Yeah, it's always like great timing.
Have you thought about how rude it was to get to have your graduation on her day?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like shitty timing on your part. I mean, kind of an ungrateful.
Yeah. It's kind of my problem for succeeding at school for sure.
No,
but
yeah.
I'm glad
you realize that.
Yeah. That I was the problem. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I know. So then I'm in New York. When we were in New York, maybe like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm on the train, and I just pull up Facebook, had a couple notifications, and I see that they had a wedding.
This time a real one.
A real yeah, and you never question whether a wedding's real or not, but in this case, let's question it. So
You're in my dad's world. We have to question whether or not it's real.
Yeah, we have to question whether everything is real or not, okay? Yeah. So I pull up my Facebook or whatever, and I see pictures of, like, they had, like, some wedding. And I was like, I know I'm not invited to things. That's like a thing that's been going on for a long time. But then I saw the people that were at this real wedding. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay, so, like, we're done. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, I'm never.
You really didn't make the cut. You didn't.
I
didn't even make, like, the third cut.
Yeah, no, the cleaning lady, the lifelong cleaning lady was at this man's wedding. And I wasn't invited, and I was just like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then, you know who also made it to the wedding? My stepmom's ex-husband was there, and she posted a picture and was like, "My new family, modern." And I was like, "It's not so modern if your ex-husband is invited to the wedding."
It's also not that modern to just have a bunch of rich white people. They're like,
"Yeah,
well, we've been doing that."
Yeah,
they're like, "Well, they've
it's
been
crazy." So I mean, they obviously have to know that I know, but they never reached out. And my biggest issue with my dad was like, hey, I'm a person of, like, honesty. Like, if you have an issue with me, like, tell me. And obviously it would hurt, but I would understand. Yeah. But I just found out like everybody else
horrible,
did.
Yeah.
But couldn't you, again, at some level...
Oh, and acknowledge I'm an ungrateful bitch?
Well, I mean,
I know where Kenyon's going.
Jump there. I was just saying, like, feel happy that he actually found a family that he loves. You know what I mean? You don't get to do that. I mean, finally found a family that he loves. I mean, can't you just let the man have the W? He's got to have reminders from his old... It's like having a one-night stand show up.
And seeing the ex-husband being invited and not you... I mean, that's like not rude. Making the team and then seeing, like, the kid who weighs 400 pounds, like, made the hockey team. And you're like, well, what are we doing here? I was at tryouts.
Right.
Yeah.
He struck at a T-ball on his daughter.
Yeah. I really... Yeah, and you know what's funny is, like, my brother wasn't invited to the first wedding. Understandable reasons. He's a heroin addict, so it's like you never know what's going to go down there. Yeah. But then this time I wasn't invited, and I was like, okay, so clearly, like, we're not...
what would have hurt more, right? If your brother was invited and not you?
Dude.
Wait,
I don't even...
They said it...
That would have been nuclear.
Yeah, that would have been... I wouldn't even made it to this podcast.
It's like a card with a heroin bag stamped in the mail.
They're like, we know what we got to do. We got to get him there somehow, brother.
No. It's not even they invite him. It's just they have a heroin bag, like, on a fishing line. He follows it all the way.
Like James Woods on Family Guy.
Yeah, he's like, ooh,
little piece of heroin. Ooh, piece of heroin. Ooh, piece of heroin.
He follows it all the way there.
And then he gets to take a nice nap at the wedding.
Yeah. They're like, now your brother with the speech.
My brother's so entertaining that I would have, if he got invited, I would have just crashed the wedding, because I would have that's an image I would have loved to see if my brother showed up to that wedding.
You should have sent your brother like a drone strike. You should have been like, you should have sent the fucking address and been like, go get him. And he just...
Here's the thing is that my brother doesn't know, he used to know my stepmom and dad's address because he would try to get money from them to use drugs. But I don't think he knows their address right now. Because
that could be a little.
It's a legitimate concern.
That could be a chess move in the Cold War. You and your dad.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, you didn't invite me, and you're like, well, I invited my brother. Come to your doorknob with a set of spare keys.
Your dad just runs home and he's like, no. Opens the door, everyth's gone. It's all gone. TV's gone.
No, but it's like a James Bond move where there's like a playing card with your name on it. It's like there's like a royal flush in the ground. You're like, your move, Bob. You want to play games? We can play games. Looks like you won't be invited to see all your goddamn stuff. Pawned our relationship away. I'm going to pawn your TV.
Honestly, the worst part about it was that
Your dad doesn't love you.
Well, okay.
I mean, you want to say obvious? I mean, that's the worst.
That should just be the pod. I'm gonna edit to that and then edit after that.
Just your dad doesn't love you, man. You guys want to go get dinner or something? Yeah, I think it's over.
Yeah.
No, the worst part was that when we were in New York, I was on ketamine. I was trying to enjoy like a good ketamine high, and I was on
As
the
you
train.
do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
sometimes you go to New York and you do ketamine in a dirty bathroom.
Sometimes you're at the Times Square in Margaritaville, trying to really take in what this country's about, trying to really process the fact that they took our towers.
Yeah. So that was.
Yeah, that's where all the real New Yorkers go to process 9/11. It's the Margaritaville in Times Square.
Our friend Mark McParland told a hilarious story where he was talking about his dad was at like a Sbarro, like those shitty train places like in North Carolina. And apparently he's looking at like the shitty fake New York skyline and this chain pizza place. He's like, Mark, they took our towers. But it's just so. It's like being at a Burger King and being like, you gotta respect the dynasty. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's
royalty, son.
It's just a bullshit, generic New York skyline on basically 7-Eleven pizza. And he's just like, Mark, they're an axis of evil. Like it's just insanity.
We brought it back to Kenyon's dad.
No, it's not my
metaphor.
dad. I brought up another.
The podcast constantly goes back to either my dad or his.
Yeah,
that's where all the riffs.
We're playing pinball with our demons.
We are. We
and
really
that's what
are.
Stand-up in podcasting is. True.
Yeah. But yeah. So
you were trying. You said you were trying to enjoy your ketamine high.
Trying to enjoy the ketamine high,
which can't be that difficult. I feel like, right?
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good drug.
Yeah.
And. Yeah, and then I found
out,
and I was
dad
like,
that he could ruin a good
that
drug?
was when you found out.
Yeah, I was like on
damn.
the train. We had just.
There's a funniness there where you're like on the train on drugs and you're like, how can my dad not invite me? What am I doing wrong? Just snorted drugs in the bathroom. You're like, whoa, what? What is just
why did he invite me to the wedding?
Yeah.
Just like high on the worst train in New York. Yeah, it was just
we
we were having a good time. But yeah, it was when you go to New York and you try to and at least do like there were some. I think that day too was like our vacation because we didn't have any shows.
We were going to Times Square because they have like okay, you've seen Olive Garden. What about a big Olive Garden? Times Square.
How about that?
Fridays, but what about a really big one?
So it should just be called Times Squared because they just take every chain
and then you put it square and you're like, well, you go worship, you go pray at the altar of capitalism.
Me and Kenyon.
I was going to the embassy headquarters. I was going to bring a revolver and walk in with.
Don't you think Kenyon's gun is a revolver?
What do you mean Kenyon's gun is a revolver?
If you can imagine Kenyon. The type of gun that Kenyon is, it's a revolver.
Oh, it's a terrifying thought. It's a really scary thought.
But it's just
him and
the
firearms
vibe.
in general really terrify me. Because either way, it's going to be pointed at somebody, like either somebody else or himself.
Mainly himself, but
well, you never know. He might point at a couple people before he takes himself out.
Yeah, I don't think that's a really good idea.
Let me just see what this one feels like. I don't.
Because anytime me and Kenyon are smoking cigarettes, his specialty is dropping cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like he can't even hold the cigarette, and it just drops, and he's like, "Yep, that's me," and picks a cigarette off. I can't imagine.
Oh, you've gone to
Kenyon holding a gun
into Prickett. That's a buddy of Well, if you're smoking cigs off the ground.
I don't want to get my cancer dirty. Who cares? It's poison.
That's the logic. That's the logic.
It's gas fumes in your mouth. I'm like, we put hand sanitizer in a cigarette? Come on.
Did you start smoking now? Like, are you a smoker now?
Trying to
full time.
Trying to get off.
I was gonna say nobody starts smoking in their mid-20s.
I think
no one's like that. This is when to start.
Well, no one like starts like, well, this is what I intend to do. Just you fall into it.
I think
I don't know. I think
I contributed some of this because I will own up to it for the PSA because what happened to me was I got into vaping over the quarantine because my roommate.
Because everyone's like, well, we need to watch out for your health, and you're like, let me fill my lungs before they get filled full of COVID.
Those are very easy to get on.
No, they're really
addictive
all
the time.
Yeah,
I
was working.
I'd rather have my Vice be Marlboro menthols than like fluty flavor blasted. You know what I mean?
But it's different. The nicotine's very strong, and so I was addicted to it, and so I tried to get off of it and I started smoking cigarettes, which is very backwards. However, this will
funny.
come back to a very good point because here's the thing. One, I found out, and I don't know if this is like, peer-reviewed research, but I was researching about the difference between vaping and cigarettes, and apparently like one vape is equivalent to 100 cigarettes, which is 5 packs. So I was going through one like vape in a week. So that'd be like going through 5 packs in a week. So I would, to get off of vaping.
Nicotine, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But to get off of nicotine, it was so much like nicotine out of my, trying to withdraw from that I would smoke like maybe like 5 cigarettes a week versus 100. You know what I'm saying? What that nicotine is equivalent to.
Yeah.
But I was with Kenyon. So I always had and when you're drunk, I know people who aren't smokers will smoke cigarettes when they're drunk. So I was like, always to be like, hey, let's smoke. And then Kenyon would be like, oh, I can pick up cigarettes and put them down anytime I want. And I'm like, okay, well, then I'll give you a cigarette because I'm not afraid you're going to get addicted. And then he's like, what, they're just cancer sticks. We just flick them on the ground and call it a day. You know what I mean? It's just like whatever. So then we were in New York, and I was like, well, it's vacation. It's any excuse when you're addicted to something, right? So I was smoking. Now I'm like really, really like off of them, and then like whatever, I'll have like a couple a week. Because when we were in Iowa, I had a couple, but I was in New York with Kenyon, and we would split up because I got an Airbnb and he was staying somewhere else. So every time we'd meet up, and he's like, "Can I have a cigarette?" And I was like, "Oh no, it's coming!" Yeah. Like I knew because every time we would meet up, and he's like, "Yeah." So I definitely think I can.
I just like smoking because I like microdosing suicide.
Right. Because the real drugs didn't work, so we're taking baby steps backwards for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, get off the ciggies. Ciggies ain't good.
No, they're not good. We're gonna get off.
Hell yeah.
Fits the voice, but other than that,
it is. I don't know because I was never a smoker, so I don't know if it's easier to get off cigarettes or vaping.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the vaping was very hard.
I don't really have a leg to stay. I can't stop smoking weed. That's not
Are you
not good for you.
Do you like smoking or do you like being high? Like you could.
I don't like smoking. I like getting.
Oh, interesting.
High.
Okay.
But yeah, I need to. Yeah, I don't know. It just
Because when I stop vaping, a lot of times I'll smoke because I need the like oral fixation.
I thought that was it, and I picked up those CBD cigarettes for a while, but they fuck with my lungs and shit. Like I can't even smoke those.
They are really weird.
Filled with like lavender, and it's kind of like and it's burning paper.
Smoking CBD cigarettes. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was bad. God. I haven't done that in a long time.
Raw dog and estrogen.
Well, what should we close with? What do you want to end on? Do you have a little tidbit, Kenyon?
Me?
Yeah.
Drew's the guest.
Well, I know.
I felt like you were singling me out there. Like,
I did single you out.
Hey,
you want to contribute?
The episode out. Kenyon, do you want to fall short as you always do? Jesus, we brought another person on. I'm here every fucking week.
You're right.
I didn't know I
just asked for a tidbit. I just asked for a tidbit. That's all. I was like, do you have a tidbit?
Here's the thing about me. You asked for a tidbit, you're getting the whole fucking tip and caboodle. I don't break tidbits.
Do you have a tidbit, Drew?
Yeah,
do you have a tidbit?
There's no tidbit.
Ain't no bit.
Well, I'm sorry you weren't invited to the wedding. That's super fucked up.
Oh, thank you.
But I don't know if would you have enjoyed it if you did go?
Probably not.
See, I mean,
he was looking out.
But you'd like to be invited.
Yeah, well, I think my thing is like
nice.
I would just like some like, hey, I don't like you. Like we bomb in front of hundreds of people. I don't care if somebody says I don't like you.
You know what happened was you were ghosted by your dad. He didn't even give you the close. He didn't even send you the, hey, I don't think this is working out. I think we should see other people text, which is always nice.
Yeah, that's good.
If someone's breaking up, you want at least a, hey, I don't like you.
Cut the head off.
You know what's funny
your
is
dad left you on red.
My dad, I think
your dad left you on red.
On that day.
Emotionally and literally.
I mean, he's literally.
Your dad was literally like, why didn't you invite me to the wedding? He's just like, it's just a scene, no response.
Just says cut to black.
Yeah. Your dad's just looking at the and he just throws it. Your dad's like, she just takes the phone, he throws it in the river, and he just gets a new phone. Every time you text him, he throws it away and gets a new one.
He, I think that day he pocket dialed me.
Oh yeah.
Like I think. I was like, oh, my dad's calling. Interesting. And then I go to answer it. He already hung up. And I was like, well, looks like we're not invited to the wedding.
But isn't it sweet when he calls you with a metaphor?
Yeah.
By the time you're ready to talk, he's already done.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that kind of poetic? Your dad called you with a fucking IQ. Your dad called you with It's a little sweet little like the whole thing. You're like, Dad, I want to talk. He's like, I'm not feeling it.
We're good. It was an accident.
He's like, my daughter's calling.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Well.
God. Well, God, it's
As
nice.
always, come hang out at the Lincoln Lodge.
Best comedy club in the city, and I'm not just saying that because our
No.
producer's holding a 9mm to my forehead. But
Literally, this offered you a cookie.
I know, no, it was sweet.
Kenyon
I'm just
turns the
joking.
ship around from 0 to 100
But-
faster than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah, Lincoln Lodge, best club in Chicago. Come out 7 days a week. Great comedy all the time. I don't really know any way to say it, but if you don't support the Patreon,
Oh, here we go.
I will take my own life.
Boy.
I'll put it that way. So support the Patreon for the love of God. I don't know what I have to do. I will come to your houses individually and beg you. So.
I might start just doing some weird stuff on there by myself.
Oh, I mean, the Patreon
I
is...
might just start doing some weird, like, book reviews
You're,
or something.
you should lead into that because your weird shit's hilarious.
Yeah, I gotta get
The
some weird stuff on
Patreon is...
there.
Here's the thing. If you see... The great thing about the Patreon is, like, if you ever, like, what are Kenny and Nick... Like, you really see an insider view that's almost too much.
I went, way too much.
Here's
on
the thing
some
about
of
the
those.
Patreon. I say shit on the Patreon that I should be saying to my therapist.
100%. There's some really dark episodes. Like,
I'm starting to feel like I'm the Patreon.
Yeah. Well, hey, you ain't Patreon. Drew wants to have a self-esteem. No, you ain't Patreon.
after
is
one
for-
episode, I think Kenny, you did say to me, you're like, oh, that's why you're like, oh, this is why you are who you are. Like it got to that level.
No,
where we were
it's like an acid trip realization.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, that's why
That's
that's all the things that are wrong. Yeah.
It really puts us into perspective and into a frame. But thank you for hanging out with us
Thanks for
again,
coming out.
Drew.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That was fun. Hey guys, you just listened to another episode of Fuck You Dad. If you could follow us on our Instagram, which is FCKYOUDAD podcast. That's the important one. We also have a Twitter account, which is FCKYOUDADPODCA1. If you could follow that. Also, please submit any father stories that you have that you'd like us to make fun of, laugh at, or share. Shoot that to our Instagram DMs. And if you could please go ahead and rate the podcast, share the podcast with your friends and family that might enjoy it, and keep listening. Thank you so much.